Newsflash, is the Loch Ness Monster found? Question mark. Are worms eating the French? And are mad scientists creating brain-eating zombies?
All this and more on this week's edition of the Weekly Bazaar.
Yeah. So, I think we are ready to start this show. What do you think about that, Hans?
Yes, I think we should just go into the show doing our German accents because it's just going to throw people off. They're going to be like, oh my God, here's Alex and Garrett gone. And they're going to be like, who is these German sausages, huh? Well, we did the intro for that and we were just like, let's just do German voices. Why not? Because, okay. Welcome everybody to is it week 7 of the Weekly Bazaar 7. And as you know, we take stories that are in the news or trending and they're not who gives a fuck about the Champions League final and Liverpool fans getting the shit kicked out of them by the Kiev football fans. I mean,
do you have I'm sure you have the football game on your computer monitor as we're doing this right now.
I thought about it, but then this is how much my life has changed, right? Usually, I would die before I missed the Champions League final. Okay, it was like the thing. But
then I love sexy American came along.
I love podcasting more. Podcasting is like the biggest thing in my life at the moment. So I'd rather sit with you, buddy. Sit for an hour with you and talk about shit because that's what we do best.
Yes. And what's better to talk about shit than to talk about shit in the German accents?
And the German accent is great because there's so many stories that we're going to talk about now that, well, especially this one I've got about the brain. It's very crazy German scientist. So let's just go into it, shall we? This first crazy story I found was about scientists that have apparently been able to bring back a severed brain to life. Okay, so they've been working on pigs' brains, which apparently are very similar to ours, cheeky bastards. But and a Yale neuroscientist, porky. A Yale neuroscientist named Ninad Sestan revealed a breakthrough that they took 100 pigs with brains from slaughterhouse pigs, and they managed to take the brain of one of these pigs that have been dead. How long? It doesn't say how long they were dead. So they took a brain, and they managed to hook up this brain to pumps and all the technical gizmos they've got, and they managed to get an artificial blood flow in. Okay. And this brain survived for 36 hours, and it was previously deceased.
Really? So were they able to measure actual brain activity during?
What does it say here?
Restitution of the blood flow.
It's very, very early in the process at the moment.
Okay.
They can't they can't confirm the level of consciousness. But there's a new ethical debate about this because people are saying, well, if your brain has got enough power to push blood through your body and keep you alive, which is what your brain does,
yes,
then surely that's enough to stop this because they want to stop it right away. Because obviously, like, the story reads as though if you did bring someone's brain back to life, you reanimated it, the way the brain works without organs, without any way of you just being in excruciating pain. Like, there is no way of saying you wouldn't be able to feel, you wouldn't be able to breathe. It'd be like drowning for 36 hours.
Ugh.
So, I mean, who the fuck would want to live like that for an hour? Like, imagine drowning for an hour.
Do you imagine being a zombie brought back to life by this artificial means? You have this insatiable hunger for human flesh and you can't be satisfied?
That's why zombies make that noise. They're like,
oh, that's what my orgasms sound like. Sorry.
That's what they're saying. Zombies. They're going. Whoa! you know, and who decides which brain to bring back? I mean, I guess you could like nominate yourself, but I don't think you'd be realizing what you'd be getting yourself into.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would subject myself to such torture.
Yeah. I mean, you don't think of it like that, do you? You think, oh, okay, bring me back. I can jack off for another 100 years.
but then you realize you have no hands and you have no dick and an insatiable desire to jack off.
You took that exactly where I was going to go. Yeah, and that is the perfect way of describing what it would be like without a brain. You would not be able to jack off to porn.
That would be an atheist's idea of hell.
Yeah, and also, like, what's to say that the brain doesn't remember the pain of what you died from? So not only, like, say for example, you got your head cut off, like your brain might remember those pains, and you might be reliving that for however long they've reanimated your brain.
Well,
so
people that lose limbs to amputation, I mean, they still feel the limb there, and that's the whole mechanism behind the phantom pains. And imagine if you're just a brain and you've had your whole body amputated,
and imagine feeling like you've got itchy nuts and you can't scratch them. This for me, like, I mean, this is an amazing breakthrough. We've all seen Futurama, the glass heads in the tubes.
Yeah.
And if they could do something like that, not so gruesome, just a head, but if they could, like, take your brain and put it into somebody else's body, I think that's the way they're looking at this, like, basically making rich dudes live forever, which isn't that exactly what we need in this world right now. And if you could do something like that, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, but the experimentation and the steps you have to take to get to that level, it's just not worth it. Yeah. It's not worth putting people through that pain. The mistakes that could happen, like you said, making brain eating zombies. We're one step away, man. They're doing it now.
I'm really curious though as to what type of measurements they're taking on this brain when it was brought back to life. Like, is it sitting in like a CT machine or a MRI machine that allows them to monitor brain activity throughout the 36 hours? Like, do they have verified like measurements showing that neurons are firing and shit's going on besides just the fact that the brain is accepting a blood flow?
I guess they've got all kinds of instruments to pick this up. It's a very small article. It's from CBS Pittsburgh, and all it talks about is the ethics behind this procedure. To be honest,
okay.
There's a video here, but I don't want to be unprofessional and watch the video on the show. Oh no, fuck it, why not? Let's do it. Hold on.
We'll edit this pause out in post because we're professionals here and we have everything queued up and ready to go.
Steve Human of the Broad Institute told MIT Technology Review it's at the extreme of technical know-how, but not that different from preserving a kidney, adding, it may come to the point that instead of people saying freeze my brain, they say hook me up and find me a body.
I thought they were going to say, instead of freeze my brain, freeze my balls.
Okay, so it's a very basic article.
Okay.
This sounds like some guy from a newsroom really over dramatizing it. But, it's a step in a weird direction, but a very interesting one. I mean, what do you think? Would you like to live in it? I mean, I'd like to be immortal for a little bit. I wouldn't mind immortal for a little bit. That doesn't make sense at all. I'd like to, at least live another couple of lives. What do you reckon?
I think that it would be... I guess it really kind of depends on where I was in my life prior to needing this procedure to happen. My fucking cat, man.
He's being a dirty bastard.
Well, no, he was... fucking climbing all over the mixing board and messing with all the little switches and dials and knobs and what have you.
That's hilarious.
So the audio on this show is going to be all fucking over the place.
God damn it, Kirk, go to bed.
Right?
Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying was, if they could take my brain, what I know with my knowledge now, and put me in a body that's 6'2", fair-haired and rich with a massive dick, then yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Let's see what it's like on the other side of the coin, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, if I could get a new body and just kind of start over again, I think it would be neat. But I think they've expressed this idea in a movie before. And it didn't it just didn't seem to work out very well because you're no, it's not a movie. This is fucking Altered Carbon, isn't it?
Yeah, with the sleeves. Yeah, they move it from body to body. The bodies are sleeves, aren't they? That's it. That's right.
Yeah. So they're fucking trying to do. It's amazing. I mean, you look back in the day when Star Trek first came out in the 1960s, and you had your tricorder, and you had your communicating device, and now we have smartphones.
Yeah.
And then flash forward to 2018, and you've got shows talking about sleeves and being able to switch your body out, but the bodies that you get are their quality is proportional to the income that you have and the amount of money you can spend. And now you've got scientists fucking going and trying to reanimate brains such that we could, maybe in 50 to 100 years from now, sleeves will happen.
Yeah.
And Altered Carbon will become a reality.
Only for the very rich, though. You won't be. They wouldn't give that to the common folk. No fucking way. Yeah. It'd be royalty and.
Well, I guess it just kind of depends on what the geopolitical situation is like in 100 years.
Can you imagine Bill Cosby rocking up in a brand new body? I'm back. Got to get it in the body. I'm sorry, I had to take it out, didn't I? Fuck's sake, I'll do it every week.
Wow.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Dude,
what have you got?
Really? Get the fuck out.
Oh, this episode brought to you by Kirk. It's fine. What have you brought to
this
my
episode's
show,
brought to you by Broken Dreams and Hopes.
Ginger pussy.
All right,
Like
so brains being removed and reanimated sounds fishy.
It does. It sounds very, very strange. Brains.
Shall we say bizarre?
It's very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, very bizarre. Very, very.
Give us something then. Give us something else. Let's get us off this creepy topic, Garrett. What have you brought to me?
All right, so I'm gonna do a quick. This time, no porn will show up. This time, screen share so you can see. Do you see this fucking worm, dude?
Oh yes, I see it. Oh fucking hell! It's a creepy looking motherfucker right there.
Yeah. So I guess. Jesus Christ. I can't do the German accent very much. It kills my throat. So scientists have been alerted to the fact that this invasive species of hammerhead worm are just invading the soils of France.
They mentioned the film Tremors. That's wicked. I thought about that at the beginning of the show. Wow.
Yeah, these are the tremors in their larva state. This is before they've evolved to the point where they are able to walk on two legs like birds from Tremors 2. But yeah, these tremors or worms are just like invading all the soils, and it's coming to realize that they're killing a bunch of the earthworms. The
Wow.
naturally, occurring, well, I guess everything's naturally occurring, but the native
normal kind of worms.
earthworm that's supposed to be, fertilizing the soils of France. And there's some real, starting to develop concern that this might somehow impact the natural ability, the ability for the French soil to, continue to sustain the heavy amount of grape
the nutrients it
grape
needs.
growing. Yeah, the nutrients required to grow grapes so that the French can, make wine and get shit-faced. And
Moving over to Carver then.
yeah. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird. I thought this worm was really scary. Maybe you can try to take that image and post it somewhere just so that it could be nightmare fuel for listeners or viewers.
You sent me the link, so I'll find it and I'll do it. It reminds me of, actually, in the UK when we had the problem with the grey squirrels that came over and killed all the red squirrels. So now you don't see any red squirrels in the UK because they came over and they just annihilated the red squirrels. They interbred with them, they killed them, they attacked them, and now you don't get any.
So they basically culturally appropriated them.
Exactly, and it reminds me of that episode of the. It reminds me of the episode of that of the Simpsons. You know, when he takes the frog over to Australia or something like that, and all of a sudden it just takes over the whole country.
Yeah, I remember that was an old episode.
That was a classic. That was the one where he rings Australia on the phone and he gets to be kicked up the arse.
I just find it funny that how the French scientists had no clue that this was happening. Like no one was paying attention to this problem. It took gardeners to start reporting that when they're tilling up their earth, they're pulling out these fucking nightmare fuels out of the ground. And they're gnarly looking worms. They're fucking disgusting.
So it just goes to show you, I mean, you hear it on podcasts all the time about how even the smallest creature can affect the ecostructure of a country,
Exactly.
So you don't get much smaller than a worm. It's affecting the nutrients in the soil. And it's not just going to affect grapes either. It could affect all kinds of fruits farming, and it could be a huge problem. So they're going to have to find a way to deal with this, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's no real immediate danger by the fact that these worms are kind of taking over, but it does seem like they do have the ability to create significant damage in the native earthworm population. And over time, I mean, earthworms' main function is to be able to fertilize the earth, and these worms don't really do anything to contribute to that. So if they get rid of these soil-making, nutrient-rich worm population, then yeah, I mean, this could potentially have devastating effects on agriculture in France.
And it's pretty fucking close as well. That's close to home, that is. France, just across the water, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to really worry about it until these things learn how to swim.
Yeah, but
they
some
are
fucking
flatworms.
idiot be like, oh, look what I got from France. Some dickhead will bring it over in a box.
Look at this
gnarly worm.
creepy-looking fucker.
Also, how awesome would it be to watch a worm eat a worm? Nobody's ever seen that shit before. It's like watching a snake eat a snake.
Or a dude blow himself.
Yeah, oh my God, there's so many potential ways of looking at this. Okay. So the French are fucked.
The French are fucked, and they're fucked by worms.
And you know what? That's where Spain steps in and goes, oh, we'll have cover. You can always do cover.
See, this is just prime, once the worms decimate the French soil and affect French agriculture and ultimately, bring it down the demise of an already kind of slow French economy, guess who's going to get interested in France again?
Yeah. Could you mind just scooching over? Actually, speaking of Spain, that's a great segue because Spain is going to war with Colombia.
What?
I'm only joking. They're not really, but that's what could happen. Okay, I pulled this source from a Joe Rogan post, and I found it unbelievable. I thought I had to talk about it, and it's basically some guys that run an underwater robot sub. It's a bit like a drone that goes underwater.
Okay.
But it's unmanned. Basically, it goes around, it looks at the surface of the sea. If it finds anything interesting, it goes back, takes pictures, and sends it back to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a bit like a metal detector, you know. And they basically stumbled across off the coast of Cartagena in Colombia. They stumbled across a 310-year-old Spanish warship, and they recognized it from the cannons because there's so many pictures of the cannons and things lying on the seabed. And they recognized that the cannons belonged to a ship that was carrying today's money worth around $17 billion worth of booty.
$17 billion of ass? That's Kim Kardashian's best fucking, that's like a cash cow for her. I'm sure she's all over this shit.
Yeah, so basically what was happening in Colombia during the times when the Spanish absolutely fucked up the Mayans and stole everything from them is they would ferry the gold and the jewels and things that they managed to steal from the Mayans on large ships and send it back to Spain. And so the British managed to sink one of these ships because it was funding the war.
Okay.
You know? So they sunk the ship. It's laid in the bottom of the ocean and no one's seen it for 300 years. And so now what we got is you've got a ship that's lying technically in Colombian waters, and the Spanish are like, oh yeah, we forgot about that. Do you mind if we have that back? And Colombia's like, no.
Fuck
So
you.
there's
This ship is worth more than half of our GDP.
Exactly. I mean, where do you like? They were saying that I don't know the exact date, so please excuse me, Spain and Colombia, but like they're listening. But they reckon that so Colombia gained its independence in say 1700, and the ship was sunk a couple of years before that, so it's actually Spanish property, but it's still in Colombian waters. What are you going to do? What are Spain going to do about that? Really?
I mean, I thought that's pretty much kind of like a finders keepers thing.
I thought that too. And there's a video of the guy. These guys, fair enough. They've said, you know what? This is a part of culture. It can go to a museum and go the fuck we want. We just want our names put on the thing that says we found it.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, I'll be like, yeah, that's mine. Well, it's gonna take a good few million to be able to salvage all of this. Don't forget, it's like right at the bottom of the ocean.
How deep is it?
Well, the ship can dive nearly 4 miles underwater. So it's designed for deep water.
Yeah, I don't want to know how deep the sub can go. I want to know how deep the ship is. Come on.
Well,
Answer my
you're
question.
about to find out. The ship the ship is 2,000 feet below surface.
Oh damn, that's
2,000 feet. Yeah, that's very deep.
How deep is the Titanic?
What? Now you want to know how deep that is? What?
I
think that's as deep as it gets. I'm pretty
deep
sure.
is the Titanic? 12,000 feet.
Oh, okay. So in comparison, it's nothing really.
Yeah.
But to go and just look at the Titanic, they have to put on mammoth-style missions and with millions of dollars worth of equipment to be able to go and just look at that. You know, these cannons alone, like they're 300-year-old cannons off a warship, they're going to be worth something. And then you've got the jewels that needs to be looked after properly. If you drag something like that up at certain, without care, it's just going to ruin it, isn't it?
Yeah, you could potentially, I mean, yeah, you got to be careful about decompression and what have you, and oxidation that might occur. There's a lot of little different factors that you gotta be careful of. So it's predominantly just gold and jewels, or like what? How is it that there's $17 billion worth of shit down there? Like, what is this?
Dude, because the Spanish, they absolutely rinsed Colombia dry. Like the Mayans used to see. I've been there. I've seen this. I know this. They used to get the gold. And they used to bury themselves with the gold. It was of no material value to them. It was just an offering to the gods. You know.
Oh, okay.
So, and it was everywhere. It was fucking everywhere. Gold was everywhere. And they found this. It was a lake that was. There was a ritual where they would bury people with the gold, and this huge it's like a giant quarry lake, so surrounded by hills. And the Spanish really wanted to get to this gold that was on the bottom of this lake. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, you know. So instead of like devising anything that's like kind of really kind to the environment and to the Mayans, they just blew a fucking hole in the mountain and just emptied the water.
Okay.
Absolutely savages they were. Anyway, let's give these guys a shout out. What's his name? His name is just had it up. Just scrolled down and lost his name. Jeff Cayley. His name is. He's an engineer with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and they used a robot called how professional are we? I just had it. The Remus 6000. So the Remus 6000 is it's like I said, it's like a drone. It works by itself. If it finds something strange on the bottom of the floor, it comes back. And it was actually used to find a wreckage for the Air France flight that went missing in Brazil, 2009.
Oh, okay.
So it's a great piece of kit, and you know,
Yeah.
it's. But what does Spain do? What does Colombia do? This is going to be huge. I mean, this was found in 2015, and it's still ongoing now. That's what I'm saying. It's still trending because the politically, it's just a mess because nobody knows what to do.
There's a lot of shit you can buy with $16 million.
Exactly, like that's a whole lot of rupees. And okay, so. If any of you boffins out there that listen to the show have any sort of way of Colombia and Spain dealing with that, don't write into us. Go straight to the source. Email them. You know.
Yeah, we don't need to hear from you. We don't give a fuck.
You don't go to war over 17 billion.
No,
that's not enough.
Maybe 17 trillion.
Yeah, maybe. If it was, if it
might
was
go
like
to war for 17 trillion.
The Spanish and Colombians don't get on. Like, I'm not talking about everyone, obviously, but generally the Spanish and Colombians don't get on anyway. You know, it's that whole. Anyway.
I mean, people have gone to war over worse things. Wasn't the whole Trojan War over some chick's ass?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the
awesome.
Greeks attacked Troy because some chick decided that she was gonna go to the Trojans and, you know, be all Trojan all of a sudden. The Greeks are like, oh no, Greek chick can't go be with the Trojans. We want the Greek chick back. I don't know.
And they were like, how are you going to free him? I'm going to build a giant horse. Because that bitch loves horses. Okay.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Before we allow this to get too derailed, let's get to the next article on the queue. And that would be one from the Los Angeles Times, which was done by the Associated Press, which was done in Wellington, New Zealand. I don't know how New Zealand pertains to this. I guess New Zealanders have a thing for monsters. There's this really bored scientist. Let me see if I can dig up his name. Okay. So, from the University of Otago, Otago, Otago.
Okay.
This guy named Neil Gimley? Neil Gimley? I don't know. Neil Gemmell.
Absolutely rocking the names, Garrett. Crack on.
It's been a fucking week. Neil Gemmell. I don't know. I'm not going to get stuck on that forever. Says he is no believer in the Nessie. And you being British, you know who Nessie is.
Of course.
Nessie is our friendly neighborhood. What is it? Plesiosaur?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, it's a
plesiosaur.
It's a dinosaur.
It's a dinosaur that lives in the Loch of Ness, or the Ness of Loch. Loch of Ness. I like Loch of Ness. So this scientist is going to go do this thing where he takes DNA samples or samples of water throughout Loch Ness at various depths and is going to collect as much organic material that's just present in the water, like fish skin, fish pee, fish poo, fish bones, just, the naturally occurring organic matter that happens when fish's skins get exfoliated through their swimming. And he's going to take the DNA and he's going to try to isolate all the different types of DNA in these samples and then sequence the DNA and compare it to a known database of animals that have had their DNA classified and identified. And their goal is to see if there's any unknown DNA samples that they can then study further to see and verify if Nessie is real.
I think I'm reading a similar article to you. I'm reading it now, and yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that, this could be a definitive way of understanding if the Loch Ness Monster is real. Because, I mean, you've got these stories of Bigfoot. You've got, I think, Lake Champlain, which is in New England somewhere, in the U.S., has its own monster legend. I think that one's more of a snake type monster rather than a body with a long neck and flippers.
Like the Loch Ness Monster, I find very unbelievable. Okay, I mean, I've just reading the article now. Apparently, it came from 1934. The original picture was from, and it was of that famous black and white long neck coming out of the water.
Okay.
God knows what that was. I mean, but this thing would have had to have survived for hundreds of millions of years. Like dinosaurs died out 360 million years ago, right?
Yeah.
Who the fuck survives for 360 million years?
By themselves.
The whole Bigfoot thing.
Like there would have to be a legitimate population of these guys living, and that population would, have to be visible at some point. This is not a small creature. It's a large creature that requires a large amount of food to survive and maintain itself. And if you have a population that can persevere for 100 million years, there's going to be more than just a grainy black and white photo of it.
There's this scan picture here, the sonar imaging from 2016. That could be fucking anything. That could be a pair of bagpipes. It could be. It's got a long neck. It's definitely the Loch Ness Monster. And I'm reading the article as well, and it says that at least 1,000 people claim to have seen Nessie. Fuck off, have they hell? Margaret, she lives in Massachusetts, right? She's been to Scotland. She went to Loch Ness Monster. She got home and she's like, "Oh, I saw the Loch Ness Monster. It was fantastic." And they're like, "Really?" And they bring all the family around and we'll take a bit. She saw the Loch Ness Monster and they make a big thing out of it. And really, she went there on a piss rain day, saw nothing but rain, water, and angry Scots people. And she thought she'd make it sound a bit more interesting. Fuck off, Margaret, you're a liar.
Yeah, I just find it funny that the articles explicitly states like one of the things that this guy is like really happy that he's doing this is because it fascinates his children that are 7 and 10 years old.
Oh, well, there you go. Daddy's a monster hunter.
But they're basically gonna, I mean, I find this intriguing, just the fact that they're gonna do this, because this kind of helps, biologists study and kind of more in a more what's the word I'm looking for? Not controlled, but it will help them single down areas, points of interest where they feel like they can spend more time and energy to discover new things. if they, take samples of biological areas, habitats, and try to gather as much of the collectible DNA that they can, analyze it, compare it to known databases, and if they find unknown DNA samples, then they can be like, okay, well, there's stuff that we haven't discovered yet, or we haven't classified yet. Let's go take a closer look at this and see if we can basically fill in our Pokédex.
The thing is, right, even if they had definitive proof, they scanned all the water, they checked the DNA for the whole fucking lake. Like, people would still be like, no, I don't believe. Nessie's out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't always, you'll never always satisfy the you're never going to satisfy the hardcore conspiracy theorists.
No, because I think they've just proved that Bigfoot doesn't exist. I think there's something out there. I think it's something Joe Rogan was talking about a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that yes, it may have been conceivable a few years ago, because there was a bigger, hairier, taller version of human beings that actually lived alongside us a million years ago. So it's possible you may have seen something like that or something that resembles that, but it wouldn't be alive now because they had a really short lifespan. So, Bigfoot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's trippy. But I like how you can take something that's, as questionable as the Loch Ness Monster conspiracy, and you can apply some real science to it and, generate new techniques to help actual legitimate discovery of new species.
Yes. And Loch Ness is it's a landmark that people from all around the world go and see, right?
Yeah.
All around the world, people go to Loch Ness. I just don't get it. It's a lake. It's a lake. It's literally a lake. They must fly all those thousands of miles, get there, and be like, "Great,
but
feed the
it's
ducks."
a fairly beautiful lake, isn't it? I mean, it's like thousands of people every year, or almost maybe even millions of people every year, go to Lake Powell. Yeah, and not because it's, there's monsters in it, but because it's a legitimate, beautiful, natural wonder.
But it's in Scotland, and Scotland's cold and angry. The weather's angry. The people are angry. The ducks will spit bread at you before they eat it. We got beautiful lakes around us. Go to Barla Lake, which is in Wales. Go to Ellesmere Lake, which is in Ellesmere. There's lakes all over. We got the Lake District. We got a whole region of the UK just dedicated for lakes. It's called the Lake District. I get it. It's Loch Ness, but I love to get there with a camera and take the pictures of the disappointed Americans that get there because it's just a lake. Standing there, holding their coats with the wind and the rain battering their faces. They're all red-faced and like, honey, it's a lake. Yeah, Jerry, I know it's a lake. I can see it's a lake.
It's fucking cold. Let's get back to the hotel.
Oh, God, it makes me laugh.
Alrighty.
Well, people like to do these kind of things. And that was a great story. Mate, this week has been fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I always enjoy my sit-downs with you.
Yes, it's been rather dignified. Thank you very much.
Good show, chap.
Yes, it's been a bloody good show. That's right. I'm going to give myself a bloody good rogering with my hand. Okay, anyway, so let's... but it's always an absolute pleasure sitting talking with you. Thank you so much. Guys... sorry.
I was just merely going to express my desire to be able to do this with you next week, but since you're such a narcissist and love to hear yourself talk.
Oh, it's so funny, isn't it? We should get used to this right now. We're both just as... I'm really bad. Podcasting is making me realize how bad I am at just interrupting people. So,
yeah. You interrupt a lot. And I want to fucking slap you like half the show.
Well, I'll have to come over to Arizona so you can.
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, it's been fantastic.
I'll slap you silly, little boy.
Oh, bloody good show. Guys, fantastic. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and give us some love. And we will see you guys next week.
Next week, unless somebody else dies, or unless somebody else requires my assistance, or unless...
It's been a long week for you, isn't it? Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
All right.
See you later.
Peace.
Peace out.